What is up, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today, oh boy, today I have a big one for you, ladies and gentlemen, quite a big episode because this one marks the end for the Q&A trilogy I have been doing over here. I have already released two Q&A sessions with different developers, different big guys in World of Tanks, so if you haven't seen those episodes, go check it out. But today's one is going to be featuring Anton Pankov, ladies and gentlemen, World of Tanks product director. So quite a big guns in today's episode indeed. Now this was not the standard Q&A session between developers and community members. It was actually an interview on Campionat.com website. Full interview, full list of the questions, link is in the description, go check it out. I am going to pick my favorite and most important questions and answers in my opinion from that interview at least. And I am going to add my own thoughts and ideas about those questions and answers as well, so it should be interesting. So without further ado, let's actually dive right into the action. Now we are going to cover some topics what you have heard. If you have watched both my previous Q&A session videos, then you may recognize some of the questions, but over here we are going to get a lot more information about them. Anyway, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right into the action. First question. The game has a lot of turbo battles, aka fast battles, that end in 3 to 4 minutes. Why is that? Don't you think that there were much fewer such battles before World of Tanks 1.0? And Anton said, it doesn't seem like that. This is not related to 1.0. The increase or decrease in the number of turbos is associated with the meta of the game. That is, with the advent, relatively speaking, of better tanks. And in absolute terms, it cannot be said that there are a lot of them. Okay, yeah, we cannot say, well, I don't know how much is a lot. I cannot say there are a lot of them, but I can definitely say there are a lot more of them than we used to have back in the days, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe even 2 years ago. At the moment, you notice it so much. Like out of the 10 battles, maybe like 5 are complete face stomps. One side wins, you win either super big or you lose super big. Like 50% of the battles. This is a lot more than we used to have. It is just that such battles are much more memorable, like RT one-shots or something else. Therefore, it seems that this is a directly widespread phenomenon. In fact, we never had such a problem in masses, if you look at the statistics, or if we look at the statistics, because we do not have that statistic, unless we create our own. We understand that in the eyes of player, turbo battles are very off-putting. It is difficult to deal with turbos because they are committed by players. This is part of their behavior, and until we figure out how to do it. Yeah, this is like turbo battles, those fast one-sided battles are not fun. Those battles are actually not fun when you are even winning, or at least I do not feel any enjoyment winning 15-1, because I am fighting with my teammates in both cases. I'm fighting with my teammates to survive when enemy team is winning 15-2 or 2-15, let's say, and I'm fighting with my own team just to deal some damage when we are winning 15-2. It makes gun marking actually really hard as well if you are winning so big, because many times you're simply not able to deal enough damage because hashtag enemy team not found or enemy team.exe not working. But definitely we can say that there are a lot more of the one-sided battles than there used to be. Anyway, moving on. Next question. Why did you launch the 12th server on the or in the Russian cluster of World of Tanks? To handle the load. In addition, we had certain test goals. We can periodically include it depending on the total load on the cluster. Okay, so they can remove it, they can add it. We actually received the EU3 server as well, just to handle the load, I guess, during those times where so many more people are staying at home and playing the game. Not working, not studying, just playing the game during study and work hours, right? This is how it works. Definitely the game is not dead at the moment. The amount of players World of Tanks has currently online is just mind-blowing and breaking some records, definitely. According to the WoT news statistics, millions of players are playing this game weekly, millions of unique players are playing this game weekly, and hundreds of thousands new players register their accounts actually. So this game is far from being dead, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about that. Okay. Next up, let's talk about one of the biggest topics, in my opinion at least, the new nations once again. This time, you may recognize this question from the first Q&A video, but over here we get a bit more information. The question is, the game has a lot of vehicles, but are tanks of new nations planned in 2020? What nations were left without attention? Or are all tank-wielding countries already represented in the game? And Anton said, large, medium and close to their size military powers in the game are already represented. After all, tanks in the Second World War were kind of a luxury and not just a means of transportation. Yes, indeed. All that we could collect, signature, famous and not quite famous tanks, we have already implemented. There are many other nations. Swedish, yes, we have Swedish tanks, and maybe we're going to get some more. Hungarian and Spanish vehicles, they mention it over here. Therefore, we're looking towards the multinational trees, Pan-Asian tech tree, for example, European tech tree, for example. This is what I've heard, European, Pan-Asian, international, like all those multinational trees, right? But there are no specific plans for this year. New tanks will be released, but within the framework of existing nations. In 2020, maybe next year. So once again, people wanted to know, when can we expect more news about new nation? When are they thinking about that? So on, so on. At the moment, we actually have one multinational tank. We have that Rudy, right? You can switch it between Soviet and Polish crew. Polish nation. They also mentioned, or the first Q&A session mentioned something about Argentinian tanks, and we have some nations as well, what could be kind of a potential nations in this game, or maybe potential nations in the European tree, in the multinational tree, or international tree, we'll see. But more vehicles definitely are coming, and if they run out of blueprints, if they run out of ideas, I am sure they come up with new ones. Okay, so that is definitely quite a big topic to discuss in 2021. And yes, of course, if you run out of all the World War II era tanks to put into this game, there are always Tier 11s, Tier 12s and modern vehicles, so this game will continue to exist for many, many years. Okay, moving on, next question. Most players prefer to play at Tier 8 or at best at Tier 9. Why did Tier 10s become less popular among players? This is the concept of the game, says Anton. These are unprofitable credit-wise tanks. That is, in order to play them, you need a lot of spare credits. The last tier of premium is that used to farm silver reliably is Tier 8. Tier 4 players tend to concentrate at this tier. No, I do not like this answer. No. I do not agree with this answer, not one bit. Because, hear me out, guys. I don't know. Just tell me what you think about my answer. Because the question was, why did Tier 10s become less popular among players? Anton said these are unprofitable credit-wise tanks, and this is just concept of the game. Tier 10s have been unprofitable credit-wise tanks from the get-go, from the early days of World of Tanks. Why they become less popular than ever are all those overpowered Tier 10 tanks, overly buffed Tier 10 tanks, constant premium shells flying around because of those overpowered tanks what you cannot penetrate with standard rounds. It became a lot more unprofitable than it has ever been. Plus all those full Tier 10 battles. For many players, this is just not appealing. They do not want to play basically ranked battles in every single Tier 10 battle, and in my opinion, this is why Tier 10s are a lot less popular. Of course, Tier 8 is the most popular vehicle class because Tier 8 premium tanks, they are indeed the best credit makers in this game. I'm pretty sure I have the most battles played in Tier 8 as well, just for that reason, just to grind credits. But Tier 10s became less popular and are actually less and less popular day after day because of all those issues. Full Tier 10 battles, overpowered Tier 10s, constant premium rounds. People are just not enjoying that hardcore, sweaty grind or try-harding in Tier 10s so much. I do not mind it too much, but I can understand, I can see why a majority of the player base cannot handle it, at least. Tell me what you think about that one, because it definitely has become less popular among the players than it used to be back in the very old days, because we didn't have that many full Tier 10 battles. Okay, moving on, next question, which is a super simple question, but quite a deep topic. What is missing in the game right now? Anton said, at the moment the game has enough. We have modes for any group of audience, entertainment of any format for every days. The game is technically stable, but we are not going to stop here. We constantly have new ideas, new stories are born, various battle modes, new tanks, so on, so on. Over the past 3 years, we have added a lot of things functionally. To improve functionality, I guess they want to say. So you can't say that something is missing. You always want to have more, but in general, the game is now self-sufficient. You know what, guys, I think I'm actually going to agree with this, that the game has enough. Yes, we have enough game modes. We have enough rotating game modes like Frontline, Steel Hunter, ranked battles, random battles. Now they're testing Brawl, 7 vs 7 Brawl as well. We have clan wars, we have campaigns, we have marathon missions, random battles. Yes, the game actually has a lot of things to do. So it has enough, yes, I would agree with that, but there is always room for improvement. We have enough, but let's improve those things what we have already without adding new ones. Oh yeah, I forgot PvE mode as well. Occasionally we have PvE mode, and at the moment there is Road to Berlin going on, so I would say yes, we have enough, but we can work on those things what we have in this game at the moment. We can work on tank balance, we can work on adding more mods into this game, like battle hits, armor profile viewer, so on, so on. We need those things just to improve those little functional things, and balance vehicles, balance current modes, and so on, so on. So yeah, we have enough, but there still is a lot of work to do. Next topic is once again really interesting in my opinion, and quite controversial as well. Let me know what you think about this one. Why don't you simply remove damage RNG? What RNG means is random number generator, basically 25% in this game. We have 25% RNG into damage this game. You can either roll 25% higher or 25% lower. It's just pure RNG. Supposedly, if a tank says that its weapon deals 400 damage, then 400 damage will always come out and not 320, 350, ... Occasionally 500 as well. Let's not forget high rolls, because you can have battles where every single shot is high roll. You can have battles where every single shot is low roll. So it is not so one-sided. Let's see. Anton said, because we think that the game should have a certain random effect, normalization or scatter effect damage, plus minus 25%. So that's why it was initially implemented. Over the past years, we have been convinced that this is the absolutely correct position. We are not Counter-Strike, so there is a certain share of probability. This adds a twist to the game. And I have been on the fence about this like many times. Sometimes I really want to see like strict damage. When the gun says 400, you should deal 400 all the time. And then again, I do not want to see them removing the RNG, because I want to see when my gun deals 500 damage, when my 400 alpha damage gun deals 500 damage. And I think At the end of the day, I'm leaning more towards them keeping the RNG in damage than removing it. I don't know, sometimes it is extremely frustrating. It is extremely frustrating to get like 10 low rolls in a row. But then again, I cannot lie, it is so damn satisfying to get like 5 high rolls in a row, those maximum high rolls in a row, oof, especially with 750 alpha damage guns or those big guns. When you high roll something, oh boy, it adds up, it definitely adds up. So I'm leaning more towards them keeping it, I guess. So what do you think about this one? Please let me know in the comments. But there is one thing, one RNG I really do not want to see, and I would remove it in just like this, and it is penetration RNG. If you still didn't know, we have penetration RNG in this game as well, and this frustrates me like 10 times more than low rolling, for example. And let's say I have like 200 millimeters of penetration and I see enemy vehicle which has 170 millimeters of armor, effective armor, because we already calculate the angles, we already calculate all the things. I'm hitting straight into the middle of the armor, but because of the penetration RNG rolled so low, I am not able to penetrate it. I already have to go through the angle part or the game is already calculating all those things, and now it adds, oh, let's roll some dice as well. Are you actually able to penetrate that or not? The penetration RNG is something I cannot tolerate, but damage RNG is like, you know, you win some, you lose some, but penetration RNG, no bueno. Moving on, next question, which is going to be kind of a boner killer for some of you. Will there ever be servers without artillery in the game? Or a server where only heavy and medium tanks will play? To date, we have no plans for anything like this, says Anton. Perhaps they will appear in the future. Maybe there will be experiments on this topic. However, so far we are not working on anything like this. Like, creating dedicated server is a lot harder than creating dedicated random battle, dedicated gameplay, where you do not have any artilleries or where you have only heavy and medium tanks. Like, making own servers, dedicated servers, is, in my opinion, would be quite a bad thing to do, or overdoing it. Yeah, adding different game mode just to rest it out. I would like to rest it out actually. Battles without artillery, battles with only certain vehicle classes, like let's say only medium tanks, only light tanks, only light tank battles would be fun actually. Maybe some kind of an event, we'll see. Moving on, next question. Quite the big answer once again, and this is one question what you may recognize from the first Q&A session once again. How will you handle the 10th anniversary? Let's try to get some more information about 10th anniversary. What will players get for their loyalty to the tanks, to World of Tanks? Our game marks 10 years this year. Are there many games in the world that can boast such a respectable age and which at the same time remain cool and popular with players? And it is actually growing. It is actually growing. Even after 10 years, the game is actually growing. And luckily, Anton says exactly the same thing I have been saying all the time, that 10 years for a game is just such a respectable and phenomenal age to cross, and the game, World of Tanks, is actually still growing. Luckily, they know it as well. Well, every single thinking person should know it, and luckily they do as well. And they go on saying what is going on already at the moment, about the Act 1s, about the events and so on, but at the very bottom, Anton says, then there will be a lot of interesting things, along with completely new features of the tankers. Are waiting for the so-called gaming comebacks, so completely new features, so let's wait for that. And all this, of course, will be accompanied by gifts, not only in the game, but also beyond. I really want to know what the hell that means. And all this, of course, will be accompanied by gifts, not only in the game, but also beyond. What do you think that means, ladies and gentlemen? Please, let me know what you think that means in the comments down below. You already have to say so many stuff about this video, so yeah, keep editing your comment. Next question. Players complain about wheel tanks. They say they fly on the map and do not allow to play calmly. What will happen to them in the future? Don't you think they make World of Tanks unbalanced? And Anton, product director, says, we are going to nerf wheeled tanks and make corrections. We plan to show the changes either within the framework of the sandbox or during the general test, immediately as soon as everything is ready. All we need to know. All we need to know for now, at least. Hopefully it is going to happen in the first part of 2020. Because whether you like it or not, wheeled vehicles are a bit unbalanced. The game has a lot of irrelevant tanks, which few people ever play. Can you name the tanks that are not popular among players? Question mark. And why is this happening? Today the tank is popular, and the day after tomorrow it's already gathering dust in the garage. Anton said, for people who are familiar with esports and in principle with today's competitive games, there is such a thing as a meta. These are the characters, tanks, abilities, weapons that are popular within players at the current time, we can say. Naturally, over time this set changes because new weapons appear, new tanks, they change the balance. After all, the tanks just introduced into the game are always more interesting because they are less predictable, they do not know the weak spots, so on, their strengths and weaknesses are still poorly understood, yes exactly, so there have always been more or less popular tanks. It lasts from the moment the game arose. Okay, this is quite an educated answer, or I don't know how to say that, because 100% true. This is the same for every single game I know, which adds new vehicles, which adds new characters into the game. The older the character is, the less meta it becomes. Day after day, new, like, when the game releases new character or a new vehicle, it has to bring in something new. It has to be somewhat different. Otherwise, no one is going to play with it. Otherwise, no one is going to buy it, and so on, so on. So it is just how the games work in nowadays world at the moment, in nowadays gaming industry at the moment. And the only thing they can do is they can rebalance all those older tanks or all those older characters. For example, like League of Legends. They constantly rework champions over there. In World of Tanks, I would like to see them rebalancing vehicles faster than they're doing, old vehicles faster than they're doing it at the moment, but yeah, this is just the nature of the game, basically. Like 113, for example. 113, a tier 10 Chinese heavy tank is a prime example. When 113 was introduced into this game, who remembers that time? It was a requirement for top clans to have 113 in your account because 113 was just such a meta tank. 113 was required to have on your account to get into clans. Same goes to E5, when E5 was completely meta, completely broken tank even. It was required. And now, who plays with E5? Who plays with 113? Well, 113, like, it's actually still quite a decent tank, but definitely not a meta vehicle anymore. So, there is that. Things change. They just need to balance them, they just need to bring them back into the meta game, and people care about those tanks once again. Okay, moving on. Will there be an opportunity in the game to communicate with allies through voice communication? And how do you plan to implement the function? For 15 people, we do not plan to introduce anything in terms of voice communication, primarily because there will be a mess. 100% agree, please don't do that. We do not believe that 15 players in random battles are able to communicate normally with each other. That would actually, for many players, that would actually distract them a lot. We have voice chat. We have actually quite a good voice chat in platoons. I have been using it while I'm streaming, when I'm platooning with my viewers, for example. I have been using in-game platoon voice chat quite often, and it has really good quality. I'm like honest over here. It actually does. Next question about the artillery once again. Was there any thought to reduce the amount of artillery in battle? At least 2. Like maximum 2. And then players complain. They say that they do not receive damage from tanks, only RT. So the question is, do they have any plans to basically reduce the maximum artilleries in the battle? And Anton said, we answered this question during a big stream with developers. I will quote the answer. Why are there still 3 artilleries per game? This is due to requirements of the matchmaker. In order for the game to meet battles without artillery, either with 1 or with 2, the upper limit must be equal to 3 vehicles. If the upper limit is reduced, for example, to 2, then in the game there will be battles with only 2 artilleries. There will be no other battles at all. Like no 1 RT battles, no 0 RT battles. This will lead to decrease in diversity as well as decrease in overall interest in the gameplay. I was thinking a lot about this answer and I still do not know what the hell I think about that. If this is true, would you rather take artilleries, like 2 artilleries in every single battle, and not receive 3 artilleries? Or, I have another idea actually. What do you think? Okay, what do you think if they would add 1 artillery per team maximum limit, but there is always 1 artillery, no RT-free battles, always 1 artillery, but 1 artillery is the maximum cap. I would actually take that, I think. I actually think I would take that. Let me know what you think about that. Once again, another thing to add into your comment underneath the video. Okay, moving on. Next topic, ranked battles, but before I do that, quick sip. Quick sip of hot coffee from my beast mode activated coffee mug. Link is in the description. Yes, hashtag sellout, hashtag stainless blog. Anyway, what is the point of players exhausting themselves in ranked battles? This is the main competent mode. Firstly, you can play for awards. Secondly, to show how cool you are. And thirdly, at the top ranks there is actually a balance in skill. That is, not directly according to statistics, but it becomes clear if people get to the top ranks, that means they play well. Do I need to say anything else? I don't think so. Ranked battles, yeah, controversial topic, vehicles in that. Moving on. You abandoned the idea, which was that base shells do more damage than gold ones. So why in the end was this scrapped? Question mark. I do not remember they scrapped the idea. And Anton also says, we did not abandon it. We tested this option, realized that it does not meet the current needs of the game, and put it on the table. We will continue to test. So it may come back with some different tweaks here and there. Maybe vehicle specific tunings and stuff like that. We'll see. Okay, next topic is quite a big one once again. Why did you need to divide the tanks into collector's tanks? So why did they come up with the collector's tank system in the first place? Why did they remove so many tanks? 92 vehicles to be exact from the deck tree. Let's see. This is due to putting tank trees in order, aka deck trees. Beginners still come to the game. There are a lot of them. Yes, I just actually, before I recorded this episode, I checked WoTnews.com statistics, and in April 2020, there were, on Russian server alone, there were 233,439 new accounts, ladies and gentlemen. 233,000 new accounts. On EU server, registered per month, let's see, April, 90,400 new accounts in April 2020. So, quite a lot of new players indeed. So, they wanted to kind of balance it for the new players, let's see. And the trees in the game are very confusing, massive, branched, especially Soviet and German. Yeah, they were quite massive, and to be honest, we had so many useless low-tier tanks. I have not a single bad feeling about removing all those low-tier vehicles, because I literally couldn't give a single F about any of those tanks. Way too many options, way too much. It may be unpopular opinion, but it is mine. So they need to be simplified. Well, they don't need to be simplified, but cleaned up a bit, let's put it that way. In addition, as noted in the question above, the game has a lot of irrelevant tanks which no one plays, and at the same time they are owned by a huge number of players. That is, they simply cannot be taken away. Therefore, we decided to cut all these old tanks from trees, call them collectible, make them accessible to everyone, not just for the reason of grinding through them, but just for purchase. This is nice touch, actually, in my opinion. Like, if nobody plays with them anyway, if it is a waste of grind, waste of time, why should you play with it, right? And why should you waste your time on it? Okay. Now, maybe you know why they made collectible tanks a bit more. Next question, why do you change loader vehicles? Do you raise some in tier, lower the tier, or even simply redo extra vehicles? What can you say to the players who received this news negatively? They believe that in this way decided to kill the fun tanks. We were told this throughout the entire existence of the game. Raising or lowering the level of performance is part of the balance. In the past, fan lab tanks from low tiers were reworked, starting from Hotchkiss or Hellcat and ending with FF304 and SU-26 and others. These tanks have stayed in the game and are and will always continue to exist. This is nothing special. This is what we have to keep in mind all the time, actually, if we are looking at it from developers' perspective. You cannot please 100% of the player base anyway. There are always hundreds, thousands, maybe tens of thousands players who do not agree with one or another thing developers do. It is just the nature of different opinions, the nature of players. I do not agree with many of the things wargaming is doing, which some players love, actually, literally love. Say the best thing ever. Like, I'm not going to take, or I'm not going to bring out any examples, but here are so many things. Like, let's say artillery. I don't like artillery. Okay, what can I do about that? I really do not like to play with artillery. Let's say, I do not like to play with artillery. In my opinion, it is the most boring gaming experience. It is just my opinion, but there are players whose main class is artillery, who enjoy artillery. Just one example. Okay, let's move on, I guess. How long do you think your project will live? As they say, nothing lasts forever, but in this case, the game seems unsinkable. This is actually fun. Before we are going to read the answer, this is actually a funny thing indeed. World of Tanks seems unsinkable. Armored Warfare tried to do that. They have competitor War Thunder as well. They are the same, but at the same time they are so different, so they both can exist at the same time. How would you knock out something that big? They have so many, they still have so much room to improvements. Modern vehicles, they haven't even touched the modern vehicles. They can make a completely different game, World of Tanks, Modern Tanks, World of Modern Tanks, whatever. Or they can add tier 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. If they decide to dive into modern tanks, oh boy, like we have 20 years ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen, because new tanks are being developed and they can come up with new ideas as well and so on. So, yeah, it seems pretty strong. And, well, I'm going to be here for a long time. Hopefully this game is going to be here for a long time as well. Sometimes I hate the game, sometimes I love the game, but more I love the game than I hate the game. I think as we all do. Like, the more passionate I am, the more I can hate different things and the more I can love different things. Okay, Anton said, Tanks is really a very strong game, a phenomenal, full project genre. It will live happily ever after. I think that about 10 years in the active stage and further, as long as people play them, they will live. And yeah, it has quite a huge fan base. This fan base is special. This fan base for World of Tanks, like there is no other game what scratches the itch what World of Tanks scratches actually, in my opinion. So players can quit, but they find their way back after 1 year, after 2 years, maybe even after 3 years, but they find their way back and they find the enjoyment in this game again. How I can continue making episode after episode about this game. I try different things. I try to mess with the game a lot. I try to look at it under different angles, and if I do that enough, I can go back to the standard angles. And once again, standard angles seems to be fun for me, and you know what I mean. I'm basically like rotating, and the community, of course, community is what keeps me going. People want to see more episodes, positive feedback, positive comments. Like this is the strongest fuel for me. Let's be honest, over here, close to 200,000 of us already. Actually, in 2020, ladies and gentlemen, 2020 would be super awesome number to get 20 in front of my subscriber number as well, 200,000. So it starts with 20, right? If we're able to do that, I'm forever grateful. So if you haven't subscribed yet, ladies and gentlemen, please hit that red subscribe button. Make it gray, because it looks better that way. And this question marks the end of this a little interview, actually. Quite a lot of topics covered. We did receive quite a lot of information, a lot of commentary on the top of that, my own comments on the top of those topics. Yeah, let me know what you think about all of this. I have heard that there are going to be some more Q&As with developers. Hopefully I can dig into that as well somehow. So once again, if you have any questions what you would like to ask, like ask serious, real questions. If you can ask serious and real questions from developers, what would you ask? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, stay as sexy as always, stay awesome, take care, and bye.